About a month and a half after acquiring a former first-round pick and third pick overall in Kirby Dach via trade on the night of the NHL draft, well, Kent Hughes strikes again. Earlier today, he acquired another former first-round pick who was sixth overall back in 2013, Sean Monahan from the Calgary Flames. And when this trade was done, a lot of Canadiens fans were scratching their heads saying, hold on a second here. Monahan makes $6.375 million a year. How is that going to fit under the cap? Oh, and by the way, the Canadiens got a conditional first-round pick as well as Monahan. And in the end, what do they give up? It appears not much. In a trade that benefited two teams, how will things look like going forward? And then Kent Hughes spoke with members of the media, and so did Sean Monahan, by the way. And Kent Hughes told us something that we already figured here on the Sick Podcast. Carey Price is not going to be ready for the start of the season. And Carey Price playing at all this season doesn't look good. We told you it smelled like an LTIR Shea Weber situation, and that's exactly what we got. The big question now is, will Carey Price ever play another game again in the National Hockey League? And how will Sean Monahan fit in? Where will he fit in? And is he a player that they're going to trade at the deadline? Or if he has a great year, will they re-sign him? I talk about this and so much more. I don't do it alone. Brian Wild of Global TV Montreal joins me on the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro. The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
And now a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Sports entertainment like no other. Brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, the beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. And, as you heard, La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs had a 50-goal scorer, which was a long time ago. That was Stéphane Richer, by the way, back in the early 90s. Did it twice in a 3-year span. Well, it's time you go back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you. Earlier today, the Montreal Canadiens swung a deal. As a matter of fact, it happened sometime early in the afternoon, but we waited and waited and waited and waited for hours. And I would imagine Brian Wild probably was doing the same thing I was doing, was refreshing my phone to see when that trade was going to be official. Brian, it felt like an eternity, but at one point the Calgary Flames announced it and they said, here's the deal. And then the Canadiens tweeted as well on their Twitter account. So Sean Monahan, a former first-round pick, sixth overall in the 2013 draft, goes to the Montreal Canadiens along with a conditional first-round pick, which appears to be in 2025, but it could change. I don't really want to get into the details because I think I'm going to screw it up. I'm a little confused myself.
We don't have that much time.
And the Canadiens are giving up future considerations in return. So there you have it. I think we have a chart of what those conditions could be and also what picks they could end up being, because those picks can change. Let's see if we can bring it up here. We have it. It doesn't look like we have it. Do we have it? Do we have the chart? We don't have the chart. Okay. These things happen, I guess.
They're still making it. They started at 5 p.m.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. No, I got it. I think I'll find it myself here, but that pick, long story short, that pick could be. Oh, okay. I took a picture of it. Hold on a second. Let me get it here. Let me get it. All right. That pick could be, Brian, different picks in 2025 or all depending on Florida's pick. if you want to attempt to explain it, because I don't trust myself here.
Oh no, I'm not going to explain it. You don't want me to, do you?
You know what? If
you know what I tweeted? I tweeted pi 3.1415926 and then the rest of the million numbers, because that's what it felt like to me. It felt like pi because there was just so much involved. I think it's better just to say that they're going to get a first, and it won't be in 23 and it won't be in 24. Likely it'll most likely be 25, and it's a first rounder. So I mean, that's some amazing managing again. Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton are doing an outstanding job so far. They seem to get it, which is really refreshing. And for somebody like you who's been clamoring for a real rebuild for so long, if you don't have it, we're pretty darn close to it. They seem to understand what you've been talking about for ages. Actually,
I think it was Chris Johnston that actually tweeted about it. But depending on how it plays out, he says they could end up with the 2024 first-round pick from Calgary, or 2025 first-round pick from Calgary, or 2025 first-round pick from Florida, or 2026 first-round pick from Calgary, or 2026 first-round pick from Florida. Okay, that's it.
No, that's not it, actually. There's some scenarios where there's actually a third-round throw-in as well, and a fourth-round throw-in as well.
That is correct. They could also end up getting
crazy. I don't
Calgary's
know how that
third
works,
in 2025.
Yeah.
Or Calgary's fourth in 2025. So either the third or the fourth in 2025 as well. But long story short,
I was busy by then, and I basically wasn't even like really paying attention. And when people were even shortening the explanation, I was like still, like if you're having trouble sleeping tonight, then just as Brad said, Treleving said, just read the conditions, and you'll be knocked out. It's a sleeping pill. It's just so complex.
Now, when we talk about, and by the way, we are live on social media right now as we speak. Of course, we're going live. So we're live.
We're live. Hi, everybody.
We are live on Facebook right now. Okay. We are live on Twitter right now. And we are live.
I should have promoted it, Tony. I apologize.
Well, no, that's okay. Don't worry about it. No, I thought you knew that we were live. But yeah, we're live.
No, I didn't. But you know what? Me promoting it, I think every single follower I have follows you anyway. So it's not like they would be like, oh, I didn't know. I don't follow Tony. I only follow Brian. Yeah. What are you up to now? Like, what are you up to now? Like 150,000?
No. As a matter of fact, on Twitter, I'm on the verge. I'm about to hit 70,000. Yeah. But if I unblock everyone who blocked me, I'll probably be 75.
When you get that French audience, you're going to leap.
As a matter of fact, ever since the announcement was made yesterday, I have to tell you that I've added quite a few followers to my Twitter account.
Yeah. Well, wait until you're on. When you're actually on, then you're going to really leap.
Thank you for that. For those who missed it, by the way, there was a press conference yesterday, and now I can talk about it. I can talk a little bit about it, but I can tell you this, is that I will be joining BPM Sports, which was formerly 91.9 FM Sports. They rebranded. Yesterday, there was an official rebrand because it used to be a local all sports radio station in French, and now it's going to Gatineau. It's going to reach Quebec City.
Oh, nice.
So nice. So there's 91.9 FM is the frequency if you're going to be listening in Montreal, and there's another frequency for Gatineau, and there's another frequency for Quebec. That's why they rebranded, and they're now BPM Sports for.
What does BPM stand for?
It's basically it's kind of like beats per minute or heartbeats per minute type of thing.
That's
what the translation is.
Oh, I like it. Hey, that's good. That's very clever. And what is that in French?
Je pense que c'est battement par minute.
Almost the same.
Battement par minute. Je pense c'est ça. Anyway, so it was made official yesterday, the new programming. Jean-Charles Lajoie, who used to work at 91.9 Sports about 5 years ago, then moved over to do television, JC, on TVA Sport, and has been doing that for the last 4 years. He will continue to host his television show, which goes weekdays between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., And he's going to add to that morning radio on BPM Sports 91.9 FM in Montreal between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m.
And what are your hours? What is your shift?
So for those who have been wondering, thank you for asking. Okay. I'm going to be a collaborator, and I'm going to be on weekdays on radio at 8 a.m.
Okay, that's just barely me awake, but okay.
Yeah, okay. So I'll have a 15-minute slot. All right, 15 to 20 minutes, probably more so like 15. All right. And then I'm going to have a 15-minute slot on television between Monday and Thursday. But that time slot, my actual time slot has not been official yet. But the show runs between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. So it's going to be anywhere between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. And
what channel is that on?
That's going to be on TVA Sport.
Okay. All right. The main Sport. One? The main one?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Not that number 2.
So, I read some posts yesterday from people asking me, Brian, saying, hold on a second. You left a daily show to do 15 minutes.
I know exactly where this is going. Nobody knows where the money is in this town, do they?
Put it, let me just, there's 2 things I'm going to say.
Okay.
Number
I
one,
said the first one for you.
Yeah. Well, number one, you're right. Number one, I didn't sign on with anyone at the time of my resignation. So when I went in and I resigned,
you had a non-compete.
No. But no, just so you know, when I went in and I resigned, okay, I had no agreement with no radio station or no TV station when I gave in my resignation. It happened shortly after that.
Right.
I agreed verbally, but I can tell you that, I did it to go forward with my podcast because my podcast has grown and continues to grow. And the podcast that now that records kind of like 3 times a week, well, it's not going to be that. It's going to be different. And I'm going to change the way I do the podcast, even though I'm very happy with it. I'm going to tweak it anyway. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, believe me, when I only wanted a collaborator role on radio and on TV, it was enough for me because I wanted to dedicate more time to my podcast. And a collaborator role of 15 minutes of radio and 15 minutes of television, believe me, is really, really good on many, many, many levels. It's more rewarding than doing a 3-hour radio show. Let me just leave it at that. And then, I'll probably say more at some point, but that's it. So I'll be doing 15 minutes a day, weekdays, Monday to Friday of radio in the morning. I'll be doing 15 minutes of television Monday to Thursday at night. And the podcast is going to get sicker. Okay. So that's it.
Okay.
That's basically the plan. All right. Okay. So now look, they make this deal. Sean Monahan, $6.375 million on the cap for one more season. He becomes UFA at the end of the year. People are scratching their heads wondering, how in the world are they going to be able to fit this in? Kent Hughes meets with members of the media via Zoom call and says, I don't really see a pathway for Carey Price to play this season. His knee has not shown any improvement since the injections that were taken this off season. He's not going to be ready to start the season, and it's highly unlikely that he plays at all this season. There you have it. Brian, this is what we've been talking about on the Sick Podcast, folks. I hate to say I tell you so, but when we talked about different scenarios for Carey Price, I have said on this podcast that I thought it was going to be an LTIR situation, and a la Shea Weber, and we're not there yet, but I don't think Carey Price is going to play another game in the National Hockey League. I think he'll be on LTIR and eventually will end up retiring.
I'm going to disagree with you at the end there a little bit. I don't know if you ended up retiring, finishing out his contract or not. Did you?
That I don't know. But what I'm saying is, I don't think Carey Price will play another game.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I agree with that. But I think
it'll be LTIR
that,
into whether he finishes that 4 years or not. That's just the way it's going to end up going.
I guess that's where I'm leading it. Is I think he has every right to finish that. I think he has every right to take every penny that he signed for, because when he negotiated it, the ownership of the Montreal Canadiens, Jeff Molson, and general manager Marc Bergevin were more than happy to give it to him. And we even knew at the very moment that he was signed that it was too many years, that he was never going to make it to 40. But he earned that money, he earned that contract, and because he signed it, he has every right to take every penny. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the construction of the Montreal Canadiens. It will not hinder them in any way. And if fans don't know that, they need to know that. Carey Price staying on the payroll changes absolutely nothing against the cap in terms of them trying to build a winner. So it's Jeff Molson or the insurance company of Jeff Molson's problem, and certainly not ours as reporters, and certainly not the fans of the Montreal Canadiens when they hope that Hugo are on their way to building a cup.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in a way, because I think when Price signed that contract, or shortly thereafter, we got a feeling that, he wasn't going to finish it. Like when the Canadiens acquired Shea Weber, trade from PK Subban, I think we all kind of figured that Shea Weber wasn't going to finish that one either, right? There was just there's too much mileage on the body, just too much mileage.
Yeah, but Kent Hughes did a good job of getting rid of Weber's contract, because if you got like almost $20 million, then it does become a problem in the summer trying to sign free agents, because you're just going to be, way over the cap in the summer when you're only allowed to be over 10% before the season starts, when you actually get a chance to put them on the LTIR officially, because only then can you prove through the physicals at camp that they are indeed unable to play. So, I mean, I think Hughes did a really good job losing that contract. He'll have to keep the Price one because there's so much money on it. The only way they were able to lose the Weber one is he only had basically $1 million left at the end of the deal, whereas Carey's got some big money still available on the deal. So, nobody's picking that contract up if you think that he can swing what he did with Vegas. It's not going to happen. I don't think. That'd be a miracle to me.
I believe we have, we'll get to Sean Monahan in a second, but we have some video footage. Now let's go back to the final game of the regular season, Brian. As you recall, Carey Price only played a handful of games last season, but in that final game of the season, there's a couple of videos that we have here that I think may have tipped us off that Carey probably knew that this was it. Let's take a look at them. There you have it. It's not the first time he waves to his kids who are sitting up against the glass, but I believe there's another one too near the end, the dying seconds of the game with the game winding down. All right, there you have it. Brian,
did he just get the puck?
I believe he did. Brian,
I think somebody put the puck in his hand.
Yeah, when I watched that back then, knowing what I knew then, I thought it was over. And now hearing what you heard today, if you didn't think it was over then, I think most people probably are thinking right now that it is over, huh?
Oh, yeah. I think it's over. I mean, as Kent Hughes said in his news conference, it would take another operation to get him back able to play. And even then, obviously, there'd be no guarantee that operation took. I mean, essentially, the last operations that he had, they didn't take, in terms of using take as the word for becoming healthy. Who's to say the next one takes? And he certainly can't be healthy without it, as he's been trying so hard to become. So Hughes said the only option for him to play at all was another operation, and even that's not a guarantee. And maybe he doesn't want to get another one either. So yeah, it's the end of the road. But you know what? what a great career. And it's at the end of the road coming on 36, and that's what happens. Everybody has the end of the road 36, 37, 38. I mean, who makes it to 40? This is something that we all could have expected when the operation started a long time ago. I mean, especially a goaltender, up and down, up and down. It's very hard on the hips and the knees, and would Lundqvist make it to about the same age? So I mean, it's just
probably a year older. Carey Price turned 35, I believe, a couple of days ago, and Lundqvist was probably a year or two older, or whatever it was. But you're right. It's there's wear and tear, and it's and goalies. This happens with a lot of athletes, but goalies in particular, some of them really hobble around later on in age.
My God, really... Tony, just to add to that, have you seen Martin Brodeur walk?
Yeah.
It's like I saw him walking around the bowels of the Bell Center after he had retired. It was 3 to 5 years after he retired. So you would think, here's a guy who's going to be, he put hockey behind him and he should be fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was like, he's not really, he's walking normally, but you look and go, there's a body that's, oh geez, my phone almost fell.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
There's a body that's, been used, just gone through the grind, and all the games he played, 60, 65 a season, long playoffs, a lot of years. It's hard, man, on the body. People have no appreciation really for it, what they go through, these athletes, especially hockey players. You know, not to minimize baseball or golf or something like that, but man, these hockey players just go through hell, especially in the playoffs. I've walked past rooms when they're done. I've walked past an Oiler room where they should have been celebrating, and they were all so dead they could barely get out of their seats after all the cameras were gone. Yeah. So credit to Carey. We all love Carey, and there are a lot of reasons for it. He's been great to us. He's a good citizen of the world. He cares about his teammates. I could tell the anecdote of Jared Tenorti, if he had a second, when Jared basically passed it across ice against maybe San Jose, maybe Nashville. I don't remember exactly, but he basically gave away the winning goal. And I think it was the last time actually he was successful in Montreal before he got shipped out because of that bad moment. And he was just about to face the media, and he was pretty crushed. And we were all kind of waiting for him, but Carey was there too. And Jared looked like he wasn't really up for the moment. Like it was hitting him hard that he basically cost the team the victory, and turned it into a loss with that ill-fated pass. And Carey just saw what was happening. And I was watching Carey and nothing else, because I just knew what he was going to do. And he saw we were all going to converge on Jared. And he just went, "I'm ready, everybody." And he just pointed the attention right onto him. And remember, he allowed the winning goal. So, I mean, it was just basically stepping up for a mate.
He wanted to protect Jared Tenorti.
He wanted to protect Jared Tenorti, and he did. I mean, we talked to Carey for 5 minutes, and I watched Carey answer it. He was answering it like this, which basically meant, is Jared gone yet? Is Jared gone yet? And when Jared left, he just finished the answers and basically just protected his mate on that night. And that's just part and parcel of what Carey did, basically every moment of his career. The heartbreaking one for me was, remember the New York Rangers when I think they lost 2-1 in Game 6, and they just couldn't score a goal for him.
They couldn't.
And he just, I think they got 11 goals in 6 games. 11 goals
in 6 games, correct.
Right. And they just wouldn't bail him out with if he let in one, it was a loss. But he said something like, I let my mates down, and I should have had a couple of those that could have made the difference. And, I just felt like I wanted to hug him.
He didn't give up a lot of goals in that series either, by the way.
No, exactly. They got 11, and I think he gave up 13. And I just think I just wanted to hug him because he felt so bad. He took so much on his shoulders, and so I mean, I wish him all the best. And I am sort of talking as if I'm writing an obituary for him, because
I hear you.
I am writing a hockey obituary in my mind. I think he's played his last NHL game already.
Yeah, one of my favorite Carey Price moments, for whatever reason, I know it's a little bit odd, of all the great moments, you would think that there's probably going to be some better than this one, but every time I watch the fight with Tim Thomas, it makes me laugh. Right?
That was a good moment, eh?
Beat down,
especially when he took it easy on him.
Yeah, he, you know what? I remember.
Easy on him. He's like,
I remember Pierre Maguire. I remember
but...
Pierre Maguire saying, "You know what? Tim Thomas better be ready because Carey Price is up." And Price just gave one shot, and Tim Thomas went down. He got up, and then Price just let him go. And then he said something in his ear, and they both laughed, and they both backed off and stuff like that.
He probably said, "I could have just killed you."
Yeah, there were so many great saves.
Wasn't that the night that Carey was actually the only one that won his fight, and the other 5 Canadians got?
No, there is another Canadian.
Oh, okay.
There's another Canadian who did well. Benoit Pouliot, if memory serves me well, knocked out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Ben Pouliot. That's right.
Pouliot
and Spacek got destroyed, if I remember. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was a classic Boston Montreal night for sure.
It really was. But Carey Price, who was drafted 5th overall back in 2005, has been a Montreal Canadian since the 2007 season, or played his first season in 2007. If we recall as well, I mean, he won the Calder Cup at the American Hockey League level in 2014, I believe it was, which was that year versus the Rangers. He won the 4 individual awards and was obviously not only the best goalie in hockey, but the best player in hockey that season. Unfortunately, the Chris Kreider collision going into him ended his playoffs right then and there. And then Carey Price thereafter, right after that injury, was down and up and down and up. It was a little bit of a roller coaster. It was really, really good. What was it? Not last season, but the season before when the Canadians went to the Stanley Cup final. Yeah. Unfortunately for Carey, they just ended up playing the wrong team in the final, right? They were just too strong, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, or we could have had, the miracle that I think a lot of people thought he could almost produce by himself.
Yeah.
But hockey's a team sport, man. And it's, even Ottinger against Calgary did like 960.
Yeah.
in this last playoffs, and he still couldn't win it by himself with a 960. I know. I mean, hockey's a team sport.
Yeah. Tonight, Brian, with this news that Carey Price is his knee is not responding well, and the news is rather discouraging. And Kent Hughes says he doesn't see a path for Carey Price to return this season, and a lot of people are talking about that he's probably played his last game. A lot of people are upset that Carey Price. And feel very bad for Carey Price that he never won a Stanley Cup. There is a list of great players, very unfortunately, who have never won a cup. If Ray Bourque did not approve a trade to Colorado, he wouldn't have won one either. The great Marcel Dion never won a Stanley Cup. So there's a lot of great players who didn't.
Oh, a ton.
But, for those who are saying that, who are mad at Marc Bergevin for not being able to put together a team that won the cup, folks, if you're not for the rebuild, you can't have it both ways. Now, Stanley Cup teams are put together 2 ways, either through a rebuild and or through fantastic drafting and fantastic trading and fantastic signings. But it's hard to make fantastic trades if you don't have fantastic picks. And it's hard to get fantastic picks if you don't have great positioning in the draft. So I've been on this for a while. The rebuild was a way to go. Marc Bergevin was not allowed to do the rebuild at the beginning. Once he was 5, 6, 7, 8 years into his tenure, he probably thought there's no way I can go back now. I can't go see the owner and tell him I want to do a rebuild. He's not going to end up renewing my deal because we're supposed to go for it. He went all in one season, which was 2 seasons ago, and they came close, but no cigar.
Well, there's only one parade, as Brian Burke likes to say. And if you're in Canada, there's basically no parade. So it's you talk a lot about the draft, and I'm right with you on that. All of the stars are picked top 10.
Yeah.
I've got a
for the
tweet.
Most part.
Yeah, for the most part. I've got a tweet that people can find about how many stars are available after you draft number 10. It's very rare. So to draft top 10, unfortunately, you got to be lousy for a little while. And you look at all of the champions. They've all look at Tampa. I mean, they got the 1s there and the 2s, but they built it with good drafts too. They got Kucherov as a late and Braden Point as a late. So it's not just about that, but it's a prerequisite. But the other thing too that people don't talk about a lot, and I think if you're a Canadian hockey fan, it's worth talking about. It's been since 1993. And if you look at the math for how many Canadian teams there are versus how many teams overall there should be a cup from Canada mathematically, just logically, every 5 years, one of every 5 years. That's the ratio of Canadian teams. Well, there hasn't been a winner since 1993. And the reason is there are three ways to acquire a player. One is through the draft. And in this instance, they basically, unless they're Adam Fox, have no choice but to play for you. So that's one way. The second way is a trade. And for the most part, that used to be even footing for the Canadian team. But it's starting to not be, because now it's hard to make a trade if you're a Canadian team, because so often there are no move clauses in contracts. So a lot of guys are saying they don't want to play in Winnipeg or Ottawa or even Montreal because of language or the fishbowl or the taxes or whatever reason. So that's number two. And that's become, in the last 5 to 10 years with NTCs, disadvantageous for Canadian teams.
Yeah. I like
and
that.
Then the third way to get a player, of course, is through free agent signings. And we understand that they're free completely to not choose Montreal or Edmonton or Winnipeg or wherever. So here we have a scenario where there are three ways to acquire talent. Only one of the three ways does the player, except Adam Fox, have no choice, no say in the matter to play for that Canadian team, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl that drafted him.
I like that you brought that up, Brian, because in two of those situations, whether it's a no move clause or free agent signings, players that have no movement clauses, or they have, they have modified no trade clauses. All right. You can trade me to 10 teams, but you can't trade me to 20.
That's right.
All those players that usually end up signing those clauses, they have no problem to get traded to Los Angeles, to get traded to Anaheim, to get traded to San Jose, to get traded to Dallas, to get traded to New York Rangers, to get traded to Tampa, or to get traded to Florida for the most part, right? None of them have a hard time going to the Big Apple or signing in the Big Apple or signing anywhere where the weather cooperates, right? And
so absolutely.
Those teams clearly have an advantage.
Yeah, the no move clause really doesn't mean no move. That's just the name for it. The no move clause basically just means I'll be choosing where I'm traded to.
Yeah.
That's all it means. We got to, like, whenever somebody says, it drives me crazy when somebody says, yeah, but Brian, he's got a no move clause. No, it just, guys, it just means he's going to tell you where he feels like playing. Like Jeff Petrie, I'm just going to tell you where I feel like playing. Not a no move as I'm not going to ever, anyway. But I mean, back to the Canadian point, just to wrap it up. I don't know how a Canadian team is going to, if, we've got that one way that's guaranteed to be difficult with the free agents who may not choose here. And now the second way with the trades is getting a little trickier. And that's what I don't like, is that's getting a little trickier. That shouldn't be tricky, a trade, that should be even footing. So, I wish in the next CBA that they find a way, I don't know how, I mean, I'm probably pipe dreaming here, but to remove the NMC and NTCs. They have to be removed.
Well, you know what? That's your wish. You know what my wish is?
It's not going to happen, but
they go the way of the NFL and we have some non-guaranteed contracts. I know that some agents probably are not going to be happy with me that I'm saying
that. You know what? That's impossible.
I know
the union will never agree to that. We'll be locked out for for 5 years.
It's just that, the long-term contracts. I mean, look, I'd have no problem giving a long-term contract to a Sidney Crosby or a Connor McDavid or a Nathan McKinnon, if you can understand what I'm saying. But there's a lot of players that once they get that long-term contract, they become pretty comfortable and they sit on it a little bit. If you're watching, by the way, on YouTube or Facebook, comment sick if you really love the podcast. And if you're listening on audio, please leave us a 5-star review and write the comment sick, SICK. We appreciate it. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add just one last thing that what you said made me think of. It's going to be very interesting in 6, 7, 8 years, because a new thing has started that's like even newer than everybody signing with NMCs. The new thing that's really weird is there are going to be a lot of players that are in the last 3, 4 years of their contracts in 5 years that have no talent anymore. Like, I don't know if Jonathan Huberdeau is going to be one of them, but, he's an example. He's going to be 38.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are like 29 signing for 8 years. This is going to be wild in 4 years. And it's going to be a GM who's like back on his couch going, well, I was fired a little while ago, so I don't care. So,
Brian, yes and no. And I'm going to tell you why. You're right that there are a lot of players who are signing 7 and 8 year deals, and those will expire when they're 37 or 38 or 39. And people are looking at that saying, you know what? I like the 4 years of that contract for that player. I don't like the last 4. But hold on a second.
Okay, I'm here.
These contracts, Brian, are loaded with signing bonuses and front loaded and all that stuff. And so some of the money paid in the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, Huberdeau's is crazy.
Is a lower amount, right? So for the most
part. Well, okay. So from the point of view, what you're going to argue here for is that you're not paying. It's going to be Weber-like. So you think there's always going to be a team like Arizona that's going, yeah, give me that player. Because I want the $9 million to get to the floor, but I'm really happy I only have to give them $1 million.
That's what teams are thinking right now, and that's why I think they give out those deals. Hey, let's take a look at Sean Monahan's player card if we can. All right, here's Sean Monahan, who's been a Calgary Flame, of course, drafted first round, 6th overall in 2013. He had some pretty good seasons, Brian. I mean, take a look at some of those points, notably the 34-goal, 82-point season in 2018-2019. Now, we do know...
And look at his hips at the end.
Yeah, we do know that since then, he has been operated on his wrist and both his hips. He told Kent Hughes that this is the healthiest he's been since that season. And Kent Hughes says that, he doesn't know if Sean Monahan's going to be ready for game 1, but he expects Sean Monahan to play most of the season. And Monahan once again tells him that he is the healthiest he's been in a long time.
So a question for you.
Yeah.
Monahan's healthy. He plays well. They got 5 centers. What do you see the roster looking like?
Well,
what's going to happen down the middle? They've got, and Mark Bergevin is going to really find this crazy. They've got too much player at center. They have too many.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Who's out?
If Sean Monahan is at his best, I don't know if there's another player at center, and I'll include Suzuki in that list, that can hit 82 points. Now, I get it. Monahan only did it once, okay? So now I continue to say that Suzuki will pick up a lot of points for many years, and he'll be a better point producer than Monahan going forward. I'm convinced of that. But 82 points, that was one incredible year. But then again, remember Max Domi picked up 72 points with the Canadiens, and he was never able to do it again either. So who knows if that was just 1 year for Monahan.
But Monahan had 1 year of 82, but a lot of the years are around that.
I will say that if Monahan is healthy, this is difficult, because if Monahan is healthy, seeing as the Canadiens are going a rebuild, let's face it, if they trade Monahan at the deadline, they could end up getting, if Sean Monahan picks up,
they get 2 firsts,
picks up 0.75 points per game between now and trade deadline.
Yeah, they get 2 firsts for him.
They'll get a first for sure, and a second, and maybe even more, right?
They'll get the first they've already gotten to take the contract, and then the first in March at the trading deadline.
But at 27 years of age, in the prime of his career, it's still an attractive age. Who knows? Suzuki, Monahan, Doc at center.
So Dvorak, you're trading?
I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Christian Dvorak going forward.
It's been my call for a while.
Yeah.
And a GM tends to love his guy a little bit. I mean, we all know this. It's the human condition where you're a little more supportive of your guy. And Dvorak is not his guy. That doesn't say he's going to be mean to him or anything, but I'm sure he wants Kirby Dach to do really well, because he gave up Romanov for him, and he could have picked 13th, which was a pretty attractive player still. Yeah. And, didn't take Nazar, and instead, took Dach, who at his age so far hasn't lived up to his potential. So that he wants him to do well. And so I'm kind of curious if Dach is going to be a third line center, Because if Monahan's the second line center and Doc's the third line center, how good is he going to look? Limited minutes, no power play time. Will that look like a good trade?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm very intrigued to see who he's going to play with. I mean, I think for the most part, we all believe that Suzuki will play with Caulfield. That's a duo that I think they want to have going forward. Will Uri Slafkovsky end up playing on that line? Will Slafkovsky end up playing with a Dvorak or a Monahan of this world? Vinny Lecavalier said at one point that in his first season in Tampa, even though the owner had said that Vinny Lecavalier was going to be the Michael Jordan of hockey, Jacques Demers put Vinny Lecavalier on a third line, and Lecavalier said that Demers really helped him out by putting him on the third line for that first year so that he can be insulated by two veteran players, and he can, they brought him along pretty slowly, and he said it worked out. Also, one of the things we should keep tabs on here is that Jonathan Drouin's contract is up at the end of the year. Dadonov's contract is up at the end of the year. And Monahan's contract, of course, is up at the end of the year. So 3 pending unrestricted free agents. So, you asked the question about Monahan. Will he be traded at the deadline? I think you have to ask the question. I'm willing to bet that Dadonov will be traded at the deadline. And unless Jonathan Drouin is healthy and is consistent and produces his best numbers, I wouldn't be surprised if he's moved either. Or as well.
Yeah, and that just speaks to how deep the rebuild is. How in their minds deep they think they need to go, and how close they think they are. Because I argued a little bit last year that anyone under 29 needs to go. Because by the time the Canadians are good, they're done.
That makes sense to me.
And it could even be 28. And then I got in a big discussion about whether Josh Anderson should be in that mix at 27, who's now 28. So I think, I'm not sure if he's had his birthday, but you know what I'm getting at. Well, so it's going to be interesting because you've got players that are right on that cusp of whether they think that the rebuild is over in 23 or over in 24 or 25. And I guess I'll ask you, when do you think the rebuild is over? When do they try to actively start to win, consciously attempt to win hockey games again?
Okay, so they're still going to attempt to win hockey games, but
you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Ice, I know exactly what you mean. I just wanted to, for those who may have taken that.
No, that's a great correction.
Comment.
That's a great correction.
I know listen, you and I know what it means. Organically on the ice, the team is not going to be overly strong, so it's not going to be able to win that many games. So to answer your question, I believe, in their perfect world, they'd want to have a top 3 pick in 2023 and a top 5 pick in 2024. And then after that, they'll turn the corner, I think.
Yeah.
That's
2025.
And that's what I think is the accelerated rebuild would be 1 year of top 3, the year after of top 5, top 6, and then they're ready to put it into 5th gear.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think they will want to. I think they'll want to put it into high gear in 2024.
Is that right? Yeah, maybe. Oh, that's what that's really an accelerated rebuild. You're right.
I think so. I think they're just going to have next year. They'll load up some more. They'll try to get firsts for guys like Dadonov, maybe Monahan, depending on how he plays. They're going to have the one in the well already from Calgary. They've got 2 already next year with the Florida one. So in my mind, I think they think that they're closer than we believe. Sorry, Tony.
That's okay. Okay.
And they
there's no cough button when we do podcasting, but it's cool. I actually have one on my mixer, by the way, but go ahead, take a drink.
Go you.
Oh, there you go.
Do you know what that is?
Is that what is it? Union College? What is that?
Good for you, Union College, the Dutchman in Albany. Schenectady, actually. Yeah.
I've been there. But it's about 20 kilometers after Albany.
That's right.
I know exactly. I know exactly where it is. My son played a game there. They got a beautiful field there. And
that's right. It's right by the arena.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, there's a casino probably a couple of blocks away because I think it's called the Lansdowne Casino.
That's right.
Because I stayed there. So we had my son was called to play for a team in the States. And there were some college coaches out there, and it was a little bit of a showcase and stuff like that. And actually,
they like their hockey in Albany.
I remember it was Union College because they had a real nice facility, a nice field, and they had a little bit of a little tower, which I went up on the tower, climbed the ladder, and went up because you could put your tripod and your camera there, and you can tape from there. Anyway, luckily
they got a team on the other side of Albany and Troy, RPI.
Yeah,
Ransford Polytechnical Institute, the engineers, and Joey Juno. Remember Joey Juno?
Yes, of course I do.
That's where he went.
He's going to be in town next week, by the way.
Oh, is he? Why?
I don't know why. I just know he's going to be in town next week. People whisper things in my ear, and there's certain things that
you know everything.
By the way, they whispered that Carey Price was going to be on an LTIR this year, and he probably played his last game in the National Hockey League. Unlike, should I say this or what?
No, don't say it, man. Keep on the high ground, Tony. Stay on the high ground, man. I'm going to bring you off here. I'm going to bring you off where you were going to go because we're going to stay on the high ground. And I'm going to finish my point because
unlike other outlets, we had the right information on Carey Price. All right.
Leave it at that.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't finish my point because I started to cough because I lost my. But the only worry I have, and we're sitting there and we're saying, okay, 2025, 2024. But the truth is, it's not really about a date. It's about that the assets are in place. It can take to 2027. Like if they don't have a first pair, like a right D, it doesn't matter what year it is. The rebuild's not over.
Well,
if they don't have a power play specialist and a guy that can move the puck up the ice, it doesn't matter what year it is. The rebuild's not over. You're just like if you got like great forwards and your top pair right side guy is like 35 points and you've got nobody that ever replaced Andrei Markov yet, a power play specialist with good vision, a QB back there. Like if you still don't have that guy, it could be 2032. You still haven't finished your rebuild. You have to have the assets.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to get to assets in just a second. And your young players have to develop the way you want them to at the pace that you want them to, and they have to produce. Speaking of assets, you're really going to like this. Cap Friendly helped us out here because they tweeted this. Brian, did you see the tweet from Cap Friendly on how many first-round picks the Canadians have over the next 3 years?
Yeah, I did.
5.
Yeah.
5 first-round picks over the next 3 years. 3 second-round picks over the next 3 years, and 3 third-round picks over the next 3 years. 5 fourth-round picks. I'm not going to go into round 5, 6, and 7 because no one really cares. But 5 first-round picks over the next 3 years. So, Brian, if in a couple of years the Canadians are ready to turn the corner, they can actually end up taking a first-round pick. And instead of acquiring all these they could end up taking a first-round pick and actually trading it to try and get a player to make them better at that point that they think they're ready to win. So they have stockpiled assets. And if there's one thing that the Bergevin management group did well, because it's not all bad, they did do a good job of asset management in terms of acquiring picks for players. Now, there were players
and they're going to have money.
Yeah, there were players that walked, Brian, and they got nothing for. Philip Danault walked, and Andrei Markov walked. Well, he went to play in the KHL, and Radulov walked, and unfortunately, that was not good. But there are other players that they ended up giving, like, say, 1 pick up for, and then when they ended up using those players for a year or two and then trading them, they ended up getting 2 picks in return, and actually better picks than they gave up when they acquired them a year or two before. So they did that pretty well. Would you be up to taking a couple of questions? And I know I've taken a lot of your time here.
No, always. I'm always up for a question.
We've gone 49 minutes here. I kind of feel bad taking advantage of your time, but there's just so much to talk about, I find. My God. So before we get to the questions here, and you can send them in via social media, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, but who do you think, if Sean Monahan, when he's ready to play, let's say he starts the season, who are his wingers? So Suzuki's got Caulfield. And who does he have on the right-hand side? Because Caulfield plays the opposite.
everybody says Anderson, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Anderson. Now,
and Slafkovsky, wouldn't it be, well, what do you want? Instead of answering that, I'll ask this. Where do you want Slafkovsky to play?
To start with either Monahan or Dvorak.
Okay, so you want him in the NHL?
Yes, I do.
Do you really? Wow, that's unlike you.
Well, let's have him start here.
But don't you think that, here's an example. Don't you feel like when you look back at it that just Barry Kotkaniemi could have used a little bit of time with the puck on his stick?
Yes, but this kid is bigger. He's stronger.
Okay, big and strong's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of.
Brian, I'm going to tell you something. Neither am I. You can convince me that Slafkovsky should stay in Finland for another year.
And listen, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the kid. Like, this isn't about, I wanted Shane Wright and they didn't take Shane Wright. This is not about him. I mean, I'm all for the kid being amazing. And clearly, he's got a lot of talent, big size. I really like his attitude. He seems like a really, really sharp kid who has a lot figured out in terms of how to be a pro, which is much more important than people ever give credit for. I think he's got that in spades, which is big. And I think that's why they chose him. But my philosophy is that you need to excel at every level and dominate and then go to the next level.
It's always been my philosophy.
I really do not believe in Kotkaniemi for even if he had a great camp, I don't care, because eventually what happened is he didn't go through the learning process, the technical learning process. He didn't have the puck on his stick in Laval or Pori for 7 minutes a night. Instead, he had the puck on his stick for 32 seconds. The puck on the stick at the NHL level for a rookie on the third line, it's 40 seconds that you're actually doing this. Stick handling, figure things out, having vision. I just think it's too much. I think you need to own it. So if he owns it in Laval, I'd love it. Then own it here. And I think if you look back,
it's funny.
Yeah, go on.
If he doesn't play with the Canadians, I'd rather he stay in Finland than go to Laval.
Why?
Because it's going to be a circus every game. Everyone's going to want him up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe half a season each. Is that possible? Is that allowed? Or do you have to commit to one? I think you have to commit to one, actually.
I don't think it is. Yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah, I think you have to commit to one. Some things I kind of remind myself on the fly.
Yeah.
The truth is.
But look, you know what? It's funny, Brian. A scout once told me that you won't burn a player by keeping him at the American Hockey League or at the junior level or out of the NHL for one more season.
No, definitely not.
You can burn him if you bring him up 1 year.
I 100% agree with that.
Hockey League. And
because for a whole year, you may not actually be developing. There in the NHL doesn't mean you are developing.
Here's the deal. Development usually doesn't take place at the National Hockey League level. You and I know that. The way the Canadians have set up their coaching staff with Marty St. Louis being the coach, I think Marty is not only is Marty a teacher, but Marty knows that he doesn't have the strongest team in the conference on paper. And even though he wants to win, it's highly unlikely that they will. And he's not going to get fired for not winning. You get it? So I think that this coaching staff and this organization at this time and place right now is going to put so much onus on development at the National Hockey League level, more so than they've ever done before. And that's the only reason why I think that Slafkovsky, can you imagine Slafkovsky working with Marty St. Louis on a daily basis, having Adam Nicholas go see him, having Vinny Lecavalier stepping on the ice twice a month?
I can accept that. But I can also argue with you that he will get all of those things 1 year later.
He will. 100% he will. You're right.
And it won't hurt him. And
no, you're right about him. Like I said, you can talk me into him staying in Finland 1 more year. You can definitely talk me into that.
Yeah.
I think we're all excited, right? We're all bubbly. We want to, We want to see.
I'm
Slafkovsky in the
excited.
National
I'm
Hockey League.
excited. I can't wait to see him. I'm disappointed he didn't play at the World Juniors. I don't really get that. I think it was a mistake. You want to be a great hockey player? Play hockey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you want to be a great hockey player? Play hockey against the best players your age.
You know what that tells me, Brian?
I don't understand it. But I mean, they weren't the only one. Shane Wright didn't play either.
I understand it. You ready for it? Here's Marinaro's thinking on this.
Okay.
The reason why the Canadians, and don't ask me about Massar, but the reason why the Canadians didn't allow Slafkovsky to play in the World Championships is because I believe they see him in Montreal already, and they just did not want to risk injury.
Yeah, but why? Risk injury for what? To be 29th in the league, 27th? They know they're not fighting for something amazing this year, I think.
But you still don't want to see your asset get injured. And look.
No, of course not.
An injury can happen at any point.
Get injured at any time.
I know that.
All right.
I've always been.
If you're going to worry about, all of your assets getting injured, then, don't play any of your assets.
I hear you. I've always, look, you have to understand, Brian, I was brought up in a household where my mother didn't allow me to have a bike because she thought I was going to get hit by a car. She didn't allow me to go swimming because she thought I was going to drown. She didn't allow me to go skating because she thought I was going to break my ankle. She didn't allow me to go skiing because she thought I was going to break my leg. But I guess.
Well, that sounds terrible. But my uncle thought the world was going to end every Friday. So we all had our things.
Notwithstanding, I did have a beautiful childhood, and I love my mother. All right, okay. Let's get to some questions. Why don't we do that? Let's go. Nabil says, how's our goaltending situation? Is Allen our number one, or are they going to deal him and ride with Sammy? I think it's Jake Allen's going to be number one, and Samuel Montembeault is going to be number two. Brian?
I'm going to answer this like a smart ass.
Okay.
Goaltending station is average at best, and that is fantastic.
Yes, and the more goals they let in, the better it is. All right.
The worst thing you can do to try to have a rebuild and draft high is have great goalies. That'll put the kibosh on it all the time.
Next, Patrick White. Let's say Monahan has a great season. Do you think it could hurt our chances of getting a top 5 pick in the next draft? We have to keep something in mind, okay? That, it's likely that come trade deadline day, the Canadians are going to trade Drouin, Dadonov, and possibly Monahan. So, without Price being there, that means that they have a number 2A and maybe a 2B, or a 1B and a 2A or a 2B as their two goalies. And they have a rather inexperienced defense, and they traded Jeff Petrie. Look, I don't. The Canadians will finish bottom 5, in my opinion. And my opinion can change by the time the season starts. But right now, I see them as a team finishing bottom 5.
Okay, I really like that guy's question a lot because, and that's absolutely because what they're trying to do is kind of, like thread the needle on this, right? Because you're trying to have a lot of guys look good so you could get first-round draft choices for them, Monahan, Duran, Dvorak, guys like that, right? At the trade deadline. So you're threading the needle on that. And there's only one way to kind of guarantee it that I just said is just make sure your goaltending is sub 900. And there's really nothing any of your players can do to win a lot of hockey games. So we'll see where that lands. Like if Allen is suddenly going to play lights out 930, then they're going to finish, 22nd in the league.
There's something else that can happen too, Brian. Come trade deadline day, they might trade Jake Allen as well.
I thought they were going to trade him already, actually.
There will be teams on trade deadline day that will either have an injured goalie or a struggling goalie. And they're going to want Jake Allen. He's going to be a hot commodity.
Absolutely. But the point, the overall point is to the guy's question, if he's excellent, would they lose their top 5 standing? The overall point always remains. If you've got the difference between 22 and 30 or 19 and 28, it's 930 versus 900. Always.
Yeah.
That's a goal. 930 and in a 5-goal game, and you're scoring 2. If you got good goaltending, you're winning 3-2. If you got bad goaltending, you're losing 3-2. And that's 20th to 30th, right there in a nutshell. Yeah. So we'll see how the goalies do.
Once again,
don't go get a great one. That's for sure.
You're right about that. And by the way, you don't build with goalies. Like
it's the last thing you do is you get a goalie. The last thing you do is you get a goalie.
And I love what Kent Hughes said. He said today with in not so many words, he basically said that he believes that you build a Stanley Cup contender down the middle of the ice. And I agree with that 100%.
Win the middle, win the game, I heard once.
Win the middle, win the game. I think you could say the same thing in soccer as well. Control the midfield, win the game. And if you don't control the midfield, luckily you have a striker like Marco, because if he gets one chance, he'll hurt you. All right, okay.
DeVio? Marco DeVio?
Marco Marinero.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Who, if I can give him a plug right now, out of all 17-year-olds playing at the club level in the country, he's the leading goal scorer in the country right now.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
I'm surprised we haven't seen video.
He wanted to wait to the end of the season for the video to
Fair enough. The next time I come on, you'll show video.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
You want to know why he doesn't want to put the video out there?
Uh,
Because he still has a couple of games left in the season, a couple of games left in the cup, and his team is going to be going to the Canadian Championship, and he doesn't want other players and other teams and other coaches to see his tendencies.
Oh, very good. Smart. And
Yeah.
did you notice the question there is about your kid?
Yeah, I noticed that. Can my kid play for CF Montreal in a few years? I think anything's possible. My eldest actually plays with the reserve team. Did you know that?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They won 3-2 last night.
So your wife is responsible for all the good genes, Tony, or what's happened here?
Yeah, the U23 team won 3-2 last night. He had 2 assists on the second and third goal.
You're gonna take the bait on that one?
No, I heard you.
I tried trolling you there a little bit.
Can I give him another plug?
Of course, it's your show.
In their last 6 goals that they've scored over the last 3 games, in their last 6 goals, he's got 4 assists. Pretty good.
Nice.
For a left back, not bad.
Yeah. And your other kid's a forward, obviously scoring all those goals.
And the younger one is a striker.
Right. Okay.
I'm very proud of them.
Well, you should be.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. All right, okay.
Good.
And seeing as I don't have a radio show anymore, if I'm going to give them a plug somewhere, it's going to have to.
It's got to be here.
All right, okay.
Who has more listeners, your podcast or the radio show you used to have? I'm buying it here, aren't I? Huh? Who?
Brian, this podcast,
yeah,
since October, has reached over 10 million homes.
So it's more than your old
Do you
radio
think
show.
any radio station has reached 10 million homes in the last 8 or 9 years combined?
This is dangerous having me on at 11 p.m., isn't it? I'm a lot calmer at 1 p.m.
This podcast is on fire.
Yeah, you're on fire.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And so are you. Listen, this podcast is as much about the guests as it is about me, and it's as much about everyone behind the scenes. By the way,
yes,
the owner of Sick Media and our producer and our know-it-all, Sammy Cavallaro. Okay,
birthday, Sammy.
Let's bring him on for a second here. Let's bring him on.
How old? How old now?
Hold on a second. Let's bring him on. So there you have it. There's Sammy, who didn't know he was going to be on camera today, with his father in yellow. So Sammy, once again. For those who don't know his story, Sammy was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy at 9 months old. His parents were told that he wasn't going to make it to the age of 2. And today, Sammy is celebrating his 22nd birthday.
Had to go, Sammy.
Isn't that cool?
Thank you.
Over 6.5 million followers on Instagram on all his Sick accounts. Owner and founder of Sick Media and the Sick Podcast.
Wow.
And a couple of years ago, on Yahoo Finance's top 15 entrepreneurs in Canada under the age of 20, Sammy came in at number 4. Shame on you, Sammy, for not being number 1. Shame on you.
Well, hold it. You guys are having a competition then, because I think your podcast is number 3 in Canada.
No, so the way the podcast works is I
thought I saw you were number 3.
Well, we have been, and so it fluctuates, Brian. To be honest, because you got
to have the right guest on.
No, you can find out the ratings on your podcast pretty much every couple of days, maybe even every day. But I check it every couple of days.
So you were 3rd when Pierre LeBrun was on.
Look, we've been 3rd on a couple of occasions. We've never gone higher than number 3 just yet. But I think if we go back the last couple of months here, we've been a steady in the top 10. Steady.
Well, if we're out of the top 10 for this one, because I'm on, I'm going to be really disappointed.
No, Brian. I
doctor
bet
the
you,
numbers.
I bet you that we're gonna make a leap after this podcast. I'm willing to bet on that. And after we tweak the podcast and it becomes sicker, we're going to make even more noise.
How's it going to become sicker? What are you doing?
Well, I don't want to.
Bringing girls on? Are you bringing girls on?
I don't.
Some people like that, and some don't think it's so great.
No, I have no problem with bringing anybody on.
No, you don't get what I meant. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I know. I hear what you're saying. Put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have got a hold of us and have said, I love the podcast, but I kind of miss what you did on the radio a little bit.
What? What's different?
Well, there are certain things that you can do on radio that you can't do we haven't done yet on podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're going to give the people what they want.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that. All right.
Okay.
So on that note, I think this has been fun. You're on vacation. I'm on vacation. You're on vacation, right? Are you not?
Yes, the entire summer.
Yeah, and I took up an hour and 6 minutes of your time while you're on vacation. So
no, but I mean, when you got the entire summer, dude, there's some extra time to help a buddy.
This has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I sure did.
All right, thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure as always. Ask anytime.
All right,
I'm not around.
Hold on a second. Did you answer the question? Who do you see Sean Monahan playing with?
I did not. I avoided it.
You avoided it.
I did.
Yeah, Brendan Gallagher. Gallagher, Hoffman, Drouin, yeah. Those are the usual.
I don't know. I mean, how would we construct it? He's a pretty good puck winner, right?
Yeah.
Good setup man.
Yeah. I think there's
if he's the second line, he'd be fun with Dadonov, wouldn't he?
He would be fun with Dadonov. Yeah. I'm looking forward to
I'm going to go so
Dadonov,
far as saying he'd be fun with Dadonov, and that's all I don't know. At that point, I don't know. What if they put him on the wing?
Yeah, I got to get this earpiece out here. I'm intrigued by Dadonov, by the way. I really am.
Yeah. What if they put Doc on the wing because his face-offs are only like 33%?
Yeah. Why don't we end it with this? Seeing as you're on vacation, I'm on vacation. It's a beautiful thing to be on vacation, huh?
I like it. Yeah.
All right.
I like it, but I also like hockey. You know, I like it when the season starts. I get all wound up and excited too. So yeah, I like both.
Both of them for me.
And I got my COVID out of the way, so I'm ready to go back to the Bell Center.
Oh, you had COVID?
Oh yeah. I had for a good month. Yeah.
For a good month.
Yeah. But I mean, it took almost a month to get a negative test, but I felt pretty good. Well, not pretty good, but it stayed in my nose and higher. I did well with it.
Everyone in my household had it but me.
But maybe you're one of these people.
Yeah, everyone in my household had it but me. I never had it, or at least
there's the odd person that you can just like basically sneeze all over them. They don't get it.
Is that right? Eh?
Yeah, I think you might be that person. You might be one of those famous people.
I might be. It must be my singing. Maybe it must be my singing.
Listen, no, it's not that. I can guarantee it.
You know the song. You know the lyrics to Felicita.
To which one?
Felicita.
I do not. Is that supposed to be happy birthday?
Says we need felicità. Senti nell'aria c'è già la nostra canzone d'amore che va come un pensiero che sa di felicità. Senti nell'aria. Brian, thanks for doing this, man. Have a great summer. We'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure. See you later.
Thanks to everyone watching. Tell your friends about it. We're on all social media channels. And we had the right information on Carey Price all along. It was going to be an LTIR situation, out for most likely the season and probably even the rest of his career. We're not there yet, but we called it the LTIR. Huh? We are, and I am, will always be Montreal's sports authority. It's the Sick Podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone. I love you all. Merci beaucoup. Je vous aime. Tony Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by 8.6, Intense by Nature, and Lacage. If the last time you went to Lacage was when the Habs won the cup, it's time you went back to Lacage. The menu will surprise you.